Hey there, Louisiana estate planning attorney Paul Rabelais here. And in this video, I want to define what it means to inherit the usufruct of assets. So I got to give you a hypothetical example. Let's say wife died, she had a will, she left the usufruct of her estate to her husband, and she said that usufruct would last for the rest of his lifetime. And she named, let's say, her two children as the naked owners. What does it mean that her husband inherited the usufruct of her estate for the remainder of his lifetime? Well, what his rights are as a usufructuary depend upon whether he inherited the usufruct of a consumable or non-consumables. And let's say for purposes of our example, her estate consisted of two assets, a bank account with $100,000 in it and a home. Let's say that home was worth $300,000 when she died. Those, for purposes of our example, were the only two assets in her estate. What rights does her husband have now that he inherited the usufruct of those assets for the rest of his life? Well, we've got to determine whether those assets are a consumable or a non-consumable. The $100,000 of cash, because it's money, is a consumable thing. The house, because it qualifies as land or houses, is a non-consumable thing. So let's talk about what his rights are. Since he inherited the usufruct of $100,000 of cash, and that's a consumable, he becomes the owner of that cash. Wow, that sounds pretty strong. He may consume, alienate, or encumber them as he sees fit. He can do whatever he wants to with $100,000. However, at the termination of the usufruct, which is when he dies, because her will said that his usufruct lasted for the remainder of his lifetime, he is bound either to pay the naked owner the value that the things had at the commencement of the usufruct, or etc. So essentially what that means is he does whatever he wants to with the $100,000 that was in her bank account when she died. He becomes the owner. However, he, or rather his estate, has this debt to the naked owners of $100,000. He does whatever he wants to with the money, but he still owes it to the naked owners. Everybody asks, what if it's not there when he dies? It's not there when he dies. The naked owners are going to get what's there when he dies. So that's the consumable thing. Now, he also had the usufruct of a non-consumable asset, which was the house. And he can derive the utility, profits, and advantages. He is bound to use them as a prudent administrator and to deliver them to the naked owner at the termination of the usufruct. So when he dies, regardless of whether that house appreciated or depreciated, the naked owners become the owner of the house. Now, what's tricky here is, let's say maybe months or years after she died, let's say he sold the house, he converted a non-consumable to a consumable. Well, when that happens, and let's say he sold it for $400,000, then he becomes the usufructuary of a consumable. That fixes the amount that he owes the naked owners at the termination of the usufruct. So rights of a usufructuary vary depending upon whether the person has the usufruct of a consumable or a non-consumable thing. Hope that helps. We'll see you next time.